Okay, I want to talk about the radio here for a minute because it's a little bit different. The previous owners wired it in to the actual main part of the RV as opposed to the ignition switch. And so there's just a couple of little extras. We want to make sure that you're able to enjoy the radio because it's a beautiful system, and it's also connected to the backup camera, which is obviously very important to be able to use as if you have to back into an RV site at a park or something like that. So if you want to turn on the ignition there, Babe, just to show you, it is not wired to the ignition at all. If you want to push the power button, it will not go on with just that. What you need to do is go to the master switch up here and hit the auxiliary. So that goes on, and then watch, he hits the power button. And boom, pops right up. Okay, which also, can you push on the backup camera once that picture, just so they can see?
Backup camera switch is going to be right over here to the left of the steering column, beneath of the headlights. Here's your headlights, and here's the switch right here. So that goes up,
and boom, there's your backup camera.
And then there's your backup camera
right on that nice big screen. So it is a beautiful system, and the speakers go up through the RV and such. But what we found is, again, it's wired to, there are 3 batteries on the entire rig. The 2 on the back side, like that take care of the main body of the RV, are regenerable or rechargeable. The front one that is actually in the main engine is not. So we need to just instruct on how to make sure that it stays active so that you don't drain the front battery down, because we did make this error once. We don't want you to make it. And now that we've explained it, it seems to be clear for everybody, but we just wanted to get it on video, and I will have it written out specifically in the manual as well. Okay, so we're going to go over the 3 scenarios here with the radio. The 3 is really when you're driving, when you're parked or boondocking, and then when you're connected in an RV park. So when you're driving, go ahead.
Okay, so all right, when you're driving, obviously you enjoy the music, enjoy the radio for sure. With everything we talked about with draining batteries and stuff, if you're driving, everything is going to be fine. But and there's also a GPS on here. If you feel the need for a GPS, that's great. You know, our smart devices now have Google Maps, so I mean, obviously, but if you want GPS, it's on here through.
And you can plug your iPod in and such for additional music on there, which is great.
Yeah, but with everything we explained earlier, with the draining of the battery, when you're driving and using the radio, that's great. That's fine. If you're going to stop at a rest area and turn everything off for whatever reason, so we get to a rest area, we're going to stop for a little bit. When you turn this off, when you turn off the vehicle,
turn the auxiliary battery off.
Yes, turn your auxiliary battery off.
So we're going back up here. Turn the auxiliary battery off. Okay, and what happens, watch. When the auxiliary battery goes off, it will automatically shut down when the auxiliary battery goes off. You don't even have to hit the power. Okay?
But here's what's mind-blowing. This is wired into the auxiliary batteries, but if you leave the radio on, you're going to drain the cab battery, and you're not going to be able to crank the vehicle. So how does that work? I have no clue why it does that. All we know is that's what happens.
We've had some fun with it.
So we had one renter. We had to talk through it over the phone. Happy to do it. Problem was solved. They jumped it themselves once we explained it.
And what happened was they had their 8-year-old was playing on the radio. The engine was off. Everything was off, except the auxiliary battery was on, and it drained the battery down. So they had to jump start the main engine. And then once it was jump started, everything regenerated, and it was fine and good to go again. But we just want to make sure we don't have those little hiccups for future renters, so that there is no delay in your travel schedule. So that's when you're standing still or when you're driving. And again, we have given, as I mentioned before, the 3 generator hours per day. Please just put the generator on for at least 2 hours a day, unless you're plugged in. The only time you do not want to turn the generator on is if you are physically connected at an RV park or plugged in. Outside of that, whether you're driving, whether it's a driving day or you're boondocking, turn the generator on for a couple of hours. It's going to help keep everything charged up.
And one last thing with the radio, anytime you are sitting still, you are parked, and this is off, please, the radio needs to be off.
Which just means hit the auxiliary battery off.
Correct.
Or if you need the auxiliary battery for lights, because that is connected to that, then just manually turn the radio off.
And power buttons right there. If there's any questions on the radio, if we have made this as absolute clear as mud, give us a call. Please, we're happy to explain this. This is just an issue we're just trying to be proactive on. So any questions on that, just hit us up.
Yep. And when you're plugged into an RV park, you're going to need to manually turn it off, because when you're plugged in, the auxiliary battery will remain on at all times just because you are plugged in. That is the one time that you would need to manually turn the radio off. So again, I'm going to repeat, when you're plugged in at an RV park or plugged into a source, you're going to need to manually turn that off, because you're not going to be able to turn the auxiliary battery off because that is on all the time because you're plugged in. So I hope we didn't make this more confusing than it is. It really has gotten quite simple now that we understand it completely, but we want to make sure that you have a wonderful and enjoyable travel vacation experience without any delays. So any questions, call us.